Hey everyone, and welcome to PMP EVM Mastery 2026. If you're serious about mastering one of the most powerful tools for your PMP exam, and honestly for your entire career, then you are in exactly the right place. We're going to start with the absolute foundation. Why does earned value management even matter? Let's dive right in. So really, why should you care about EVM? Well, to put it simply, it is the single most powerful performance measurement tool a project manager has in their toolkit. It's the engine that takes those vague status updates, you know the ones, the "we're almost there" reports, and turns them into cold, hard, objective data. And that data, that's what you need to crush your PMP exam and, way more importantly, to keep your real-world projects from flying off the rails. You know, to really get why EVM is such a game changer, we have to talk about a super common trap in project management. It's a problem I'm sure we've all run into, and I like to call it the 80% complete illusion. Just think about the old school way we report progress. We've all heard it, and we've all probably said it. Oh yeah, that task is about 80% done. It feels good, it feels like progress, but it's dangerously subjective. And let's be honest, it's usually wildly optimistic. That approach is exactly how huge problems stay buried until it's way too late to fix them easily. EVM is the total opposite. It's not about feelings. It is an objective, mathematical look at what you plan to do versus what you've actually gotten done and what you've actually spent. This is what gives you those critical early warning signals you need to make forecasts you can actually trust. So, if that old way is broken, what's the new way? What's the right way to measure the health of our projects? Let's break down exactly what earned value management is and how it delivers that kind of clarity we're all looking for. Okay, here's the central idea, the real magic of EVM. It's not about tracking your money, your time, or your scope in their own little silos. No, its power comes from integrating all three. By weaving scope, schedule, and cost together, it gives you one single, unified picture of your project's health. And this lets you answer the three most critical questions you can ask at any point in a project. 1. Are we ahead of schedule or behind? 2. Are we over budget or under? And 3, based on our performance right now, what's the final cost really going to be? Being able to answer those three questions with objective, hard data, that's what makes EVM so incredibly powerful. And this isn't just some textbook theory. It is the reason that top organizations all over the world have made it a standard practice. Let's take a look at why. What's so crucial here is that EVM replaces guesswork with actual quantifiable data. And with that data, you can spot variances super early and course corrects before a tiny little problem snowballs into a total disaster. You can generate forecasts that are reliable, that you can actually take to your stakeholders with confidence. This is why it's used by the best of the best, and why it's often a requirement on major government and private contracts. It's the gold standard for a very, very good reason. Okay, theory is great, but let's bring this back down to earth. What does this all actually mean for you? How does this translate into passing that exam and taking real control of your projects? Listen, when it comes to the PMP exam, EVM is completely non-negotiable. You have to know it. While you lay the groundwork in the planning phase when you build out your baselines, the real action happens in monitoring and controlling. You should absolutely be prepared for questions in both predictive and hybrid scenarios, and they'll cover everything from simple formula calculations to really complex decisions based on the EVM data you're given. And in the real world, this is where the rubber really meets the road. This is where EVM proves its worth every single day. Just imagine spotting a budget problem or a schedule slip months earlier than you would have with traditional methods. That's the power of its forecasting. It lets you make better decisions sooner, helping you steer your project clear of those two classic killers, late delivery and blown budgets. So think of it less like a reporting tool and more like a project-saving tool. So as we start to wrap this up, I want to frame all of this in a slightly different way. Understanding and really using EVM isn't just another skill to add to your resume. For a modern project manager, it is a decisive advantage. And here it is, the most important thing to take away from this whole explainer. EVM is not just for giant multi-million-dollar government projects. These principles scale up and down. They apply to projects of any size in any industry. Mastering this gives you a clear, undeniable edge not just on the 2026 PMP exam, but in every single project you lead from this day forward. All right, so that covers the why of EVM. Before we sign off, let's do a quick check to make sure it all sunk in. I've got two cool questions for you based on what we just went over. First up, which process group is home to most of the EVM activities? And question number 2, what's the single biggest advantage EVM gives you over that old percent complete way of reporting? Go ahead and pause here if you need a second to think it over. So now you know why EVM is so absolutely critical. In our next explainer, we're going to jump into the how. We're breaking down the 3 core metrics that make the whole system work: planned value, earned value, and actual cost. This is the engine room of EVM, and you are not going to want to miss it. Make sure you subscribe so you get the full PMP EVM Mastery 2026 series. I'll see you in the next one. Learning reinforcement. Picture a weekly status meeting. The pressure is on, deadlines are looming, and a team lead confidently announces a critical deliverable is 80% complete. On the surface, that sounds like steady progress, but the number relies entirely on subjective feelings. It is an optimistic guess based on how much work the team feels is left, rather than hard, verifiable data. Relying on a gut feeling creates a massive blind spot for project managers. While the team celebrates crossing the 80% mark, structural delays and hidden costs are quietly compounding beneath the surface. The reality hits when that final 20% drags on for months. By the time leadership realizes the supposedly nearly finished task is actually stalled, the opportunity to course correct has already passed. The result of this delayed detection is the exact pair of outcomes every project manager dreads: massive budget overruns and missed delivery dates. Managing a project by asking people how they feel about their progress is a reliable recipe for failure. To maintain actual control, you need a mechanism that replaces guesswork with a clear view of the project's health. That mechanism is earned value management. It is a performance measurement tool designed specifically to replace subjective status reports with quantifiable data. EVM replaces the ambiguity of traditional reporting with a mathematical comparison of project realities. EVM measures 3 specific dimensions side by side: what was originally planned, what has been earned, and the money spent. It takes elements normally tracked separately, scope, schedule, and cost, and integrates them into a single core system. When scope, schedule, and cost are mathematically linked, abstract project updates disappear. You are left with objective performance metrics. Because it relies on this integrated data, EVM functions as an early warning system. It identifies schedule slips and cost overruns months before they become visible in a standard progress report. This instrument answers 3 questions. First, by checking this timeline graphic, we answer, are we ahead or behind schedule? Second, looking at financial metrics, are we under or over budget? And third, what will the project likely cost at completion? Having the ability to answer these 3 questions provides project managers with essential foresight. It allows teams to detect and correct variances before they derail the entire project. Because of this predictive capability, top global organizations mandate this methodology on their large contracts to ensure accurate forecasting and better decision-making. For that same reason, earned value management is a major focus on the PMP exam. You will be tested on these concepts in both traditional predictive projects and modern hybrid scenarios. To master this for the exam, you need to know exactly where EVM lives within the PMP framework. Its lifecycle spans 2 distinct process groups. This flowchart outlines the process. EVM must always begin in the planning process group. This is where you establish the project's foundational performance baseline. Once that baseline is set, the actual execution and calculation of EVM takes place in the monitoring and controlling process group. Understanding the relationship between initial baseline creation and ongoing variance control allows you to navigate the PMP exam's most technical calculation and interpretation questions. These foundational principles are adaptable across project types, providing a framework for practitioners to measure performance objectively. Mastering these concepts supports your success on the 2026 PMP exam and provides a path to delivering objective clarity in your real-world project execution. That covers the foundation. In Episode 2, we will move into the math and define the 3 core metrics you need to know: planned value, earned value, and actual cost. Before we go, let's test your attention. Question 1. Which process group contains most EVM activities? And question 2. What is the main advantage of EVM over traditional percent complete reporting? Answering these questions correctly establishes a baseline for moving from subjective reporting toward data-driven project control. Subscribe to Infinite Business Dynamics for the full PMP EVM Mastery 2026 series, and we will see you in the next episode.